All right, good evening, folks. Welcome to Monday Night Law on Kirk's Law Corner. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend, full of rain like we had here in Idaho, and it's still being rainy out there, but that's okay. We need the water. And it's again on the facing book. No comments, I don't think. I don't know. Let's see. Let's just see. There they are. It's working. It's working this time. All right. Call that good. Okay. I'm doing good, Dan. Thank you. Texas, how you doing down there? It is almost 7:30 here. I am on mountain time. And Cece, what's the room temperature in Alaska over there? YouTube seems to be all right. All right, so want to thank all of my supporters out there. Thanks for your love and your care and your prayers and your kindness, and of course the likes, the follows, and the shares. And if you haven't already, make sure you like Kirk's Law Corner page on Facebook, or if you're not on Facebook and doing the YouTube thing, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I greatly appreciate it if you would. And of course, give the thumbs up over there if you really like the shows. Howdy to Utah down there, South Carolina. All right, we got quite a few people here. All right, CC, we'll do. I did get the robe there with my name on it. And I got something from Carol the other day. Yesterday, was it Friday? Saturday? No, I think I actually got that this morning. All right, CC. Right? Oh, so on Friday, we were talking about rights. Rights is the law. And, we talk about American jurisprudence from time to time. And one of my favorites in the constitutional law section, volume 16, subsection 100, there is that bills of rights, and it's plural, and those merely declaratory of the common law. That's a clear indicator that rights are the law. So apparently in Alaska, it's 60 degrees room temperature and 75 outside on the porch in the sunshine and warmth, and slow moving mosquitoes. That's better than them fast moving ones. Oh, weird Facebook issues. Okay. I was saying I was having a hard time playing the video. So it seems to be okay on Facebook now. Everybody's getting audio. Yep. Everybody hear everything? All right, good. And of course, we got our California peeps on. One of these days, we'll get Tony on here. Tony's kicking some serious butt out there in Pennsylvania. So just so you all know, Tony moved back to Pennsylvania with his parents and stuff out there, which I think he needs to do. He needs to spend some time with his parents, like we all should, right? So very happy for him, and being back with family. And I mean, he has his own place, but what I mean by back there with his family is being next to his family and around his family. So, but again, a lot of times we don't really talk about current cases or ongoing cases or anything like that. But after, make no mistake, they'll be on, and we'll discuss the really good stuff that they've been doing out there. There's a few people that have resigned, 5 or 6 of them. I'm not going to name names or their positions or anything like that, but people are starting to drop like flies out there because, well, they're being exposed. They're in the limelight. Hey, Michael, good to see you, brother. So back to the rights there. Hey, Mark, how's it going? Oh, and Jacqueline, you're on now too. Okay. Rights. Rights is the law. Remember, law is that which is laid down, ordained, or established. Enactments of the legislature are not law of the land, for darn sure. So we're going to go over here to what I have going on here. I was going to go ahead and do the whole screen thing so I can move around a little bit here. Now, one of the things I want to bring up here, unalienable rights. Again, back to Beauvair's Law Dictionary of 1856 here. Oh, I got to fix my screens. Make it so you can see it better so it's right. There we go. All right. So, in the Declaration of Independence, is that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. And among these, not all of them, is just among these unalienable rights, is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So what is unalienable? The state of a thing or right which cannot be sold. That's why it's unalienable. Things which are not in commerce, as public roads, are in their nature unalienable. Wait a minute. The public roads are not in commerce? Are in their nature unalienable? What the heck? This has quite the heck of a meaning, doesn't it? Some things are unalienable in consequence of particular provisions in the law forbidding their sale or transfer as pensions granted by the government. The natural rights of life and liberty are unalienable. Imagine that. Now we go back to property. Because this is one of those things. It's like, why didn't they say life, liberty, property in the pursuit of happiness? because they knew back then that property was actually an aggregate of guaranteed rights, those unalienable rights. So let's see. This would be the first one, right? The right and interest which a man has in lands and chattels to the exclusion of others. It is the right to enjoy and dispose of certain things in the most absolute manner as he pleases, provided he makes no use of them prohibited by law. See things. All things are not subject to property. The sea, the air, and the like cannot be appropriated. Everyone may enjoy them, but he has no exclusive right in them. When things are fully our own, or when all others are excluded from meddling with them, or from interfering about them, it is plain that no person besides the proprietor who has this exclusive right can have any claim either to use them or to hinder him from disposing of them as he pleases. So that property, considered as an exclusive right to things, contains not only a right to use those things, but a right to dispose of them, either by exchanging them for other things or by giving them away to any other person without any consideration, or even throwing them away. Number 3 here, property is divided into real property and personal property. There again, estate and things. Property is also divided when it consists of goods and chattels into absolute and qualified. Remember when we discussed this on Friday, right here under rights, that there are absolute rights. Absolute property is that which is our own without any qualification whatever. As when a man is the owner of a watch, a book, or other inanimate thing, or of a horse, a sheep, or other animal, which never had its natural liberty in a wild state. Qualified property consists in the right which men have over wild animals, which they have reduced to their own possession, and which are kept subject to their power, as a deer, a buffalo, and the like, which are his own while he has possession of them. But as soon as his possession is lost, his property is gone, unless these animals go animo reverentende. Okay. Return to revert, retend. I don't know. I have to look that one up. That's Latin for sure. Number 6, but property in personal goods may be absolute or qualified without any, I think that's supposed to be any relation to the nature of the subject matter, but simply because more persons than one have an interest in it, or because the right of property is separated from the possession. A bailee of goods, though not the owner, has a qualified property in them, while the owner has the absolute property. Personal property is further divided into property in possession and property or chooses in action. Cause of action, huh? Property is again divided into corporeal and incorporeal. The former, which is corporeal, comprehends such property as perceptible to these senses, as lands, houses, goods, merchandise, and the like. The latter consist in legal rights, as chooses, I think it's supposed to be choices, but it's how they said it back then, chooses in action, easements, and the like. Property is lost, in general, in 3 ways: by the act of man, by the act of law, and by the act of God. It is lost by the act of man, first, alienation. But in order to do this, the owner must have a legal capacity to make a contract. by the voluntary abandonment. Second, by the voluntarily abandonment of the thing. But unless the abandonment be purely voluntary, because he has to be without fraud, right? The title of the property is not lost. As if things be thrown into the sea to save the ship, the right is not lost. But even a voluntary abandonment does not deprive the former owner from taking possession of the thing abandoned at any time before another takes possession of it. So you could be throwing stuff overboard and come back and retrieve your stuff, your property. So long as nobody else comes across it, right? The title to property is lost by operation of law. First, by the forced sale under a lawful process of the property of a debtor to satisfy a judgment, sentence, or decree rendered against him to compel him to fulfill his obligations. Second, by confiscation or sentence of criminal court. By prescription is the third. Fourth, by civil death. Sixth, by capture of public enemy. The title to property is lost by the act of God, as in the case of death of slaves or animals, or in the total destruction of a thing. For example, if a house be swallowed up by an opening in the earth during an earthquake. Well, that would be a natural disaster. Earthquake takes a home. That's a natural disaster. It is proper to observe that in some cases, the moment that the owner loses his possession, he also loses his property or right in the thing. Animals, ferae, naturae, as mentioned above, belong to the owner only while he retains the possession of them. But in general, the loss of possession does not impair the right of property, for the owner may recover it within a certain time allowed by law. Okay. Now I know that there is a little bit different definition, and I don't know if it's still here. Oh yeah. Law, yeah, that's right. That which is laid down, ordained, or established. Let's see, what was I going to, property. All right, come on. Lots of PREs. Uh-oh. Okay, here we go. Maybe. Okay, come on. Okay. Now, Black's Law, 4th edition, talks about property here. that which is peculiar or proper to any person, and which belongs exclusively to one in the strict legal sense, an aggregate of rights which are guaranteed and protected by the government. So that's where I come up with an aggregate of guaranteed rights is property. Right there. It's almost like I've read this before. The term is said to extend to every species of valuable right and interest. More specifically, ownership, the unrestricted and exclusive right to a thing, the right to dispose of a thing in every legal way, to possess it, to use it, like your automobile, and to exclude everyone else from interfering with it. That dominion or indefinite right of use over disposition which one may lawfully exercise over particular things or subjects. Transcontinental oil, the exclusive right of possessing, enjoying, and disposing of a thing, like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Or property. Personal property, be more specific here. Let's see, who did we lose? Oh, let's see if she... All right, so right, see, and that's the thing is, Lisa out here on Facebook, protected by the government, right? No, I get you, but see, that's the thing. This is the most primary, fundamental principle of instituting government, which it is stated in the Declaration of Independence. Among these rights, which to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, not kings and rulers, among men, receiving their just powers under the consent of the governed. Ah. So there's the thing, is fundamentally and principally, governments are instituted among men receiving their just powers under the consent of the governed to secure those rights, those creator endowed rights and the law of nature. That's the way it's supposed to be. So this is why we call that an usurpation of power and a common law trespass. And again, these truths are to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. Now, again, back to right where I pop this sucker up, right there at law. Law is that which is laid down. Declarations lay down the law, period. So I don't know why we're having a problem comprehending what's supposed to be self-evident here, but I think we have quite a few people that are not of sound mind. They're completely incompetent to sit in some of these emoluments. Where was I going to go before I got distracted? Let's see what life is. Whew, there's a long one. Now, we went over liberty last Friday. We'll stop right here for a second. License. Contracts. Uh-oh. A right given by some competent authority to do an act, which without such authority would be illegal. The instrument or writing which secures this right is also called a license. A license is express or implied. An express license is one which, in direct terms, authorizes the performance of a certain act, as a license to keep a tavern given by public authority. Okay? Like driver's license, a driver license. It's a contract. But that means we have to seek permission to do it. It's seeking permission to do something, to do a thing. Without such authority would be illegal. So, do we have to seek permission to exercise a right? It's like it says, a right given by some competent authority to do an act. Who in the heck is competent enough to dictate to the people that you have to buy something? You have to buy permission or buy a right? I thought it couldn't be sold. So if it can't be sold, you can't buy it. There we go. So here's life, the aggregate of the animal functions which resist death, the state of animated beings, while they possess the power of feeling and motion. It commences in contemplation of law, generally, as soon as the infant is able to stir in the mother's womb. Oh, really? Well, that happens within just a few days after inception, is it not? Let's see. And ceases at death. Lawyers and legislators are not, however, the best physiologists, and it may be justly suspected that in fact life commences before the mother can perceive any motion of the fetus. See, right to life. This is why I think abortion is wrong, unlawful, except for extenuating circumstances, right? Now, for many purposes, however, life is considered as begun from the moment of conception. In vitro, semir. Bide fetus. But in order to acquire and transfer civil rights, the child must be born alive. Whether a child is born alive is to be ascertained from certain signs, which are always attendant upon life. The fact of the child's crying is the most certain. There may be a certain motion in a newborn infant, which may last even for hours, and yet there may not be complete life. It seems that in order to commence life, the child must be born with the ability to breathe and must actually have breathed. life is presumed to continue at least till 100 years. Huh. See death and survivorship. Life is considered by the law of the utmost importance, and its most ancient care is to protect it. That's the right to life. All right, so now let's go jump over here. Go back to kind of the very beginning of the history of common law rights. Right in the very beginning here, it talks about in the first place, we have granted to God. And by this, our present charter confirmed for us and our heirs forever that the English church shall be free and shall have her rights entire and her liberties inviolate. And we will that it be thus observed, which is apparent from this, that the freedom of elections, which is reckoned most important and very essential to the English church, we of our pure and unconstrained will did grant and did by our charter confirm and did obtain the ratification the same from our Lord, Pope Innocent III. Before the quarrel arose between us and our barons, and this we will observe, and our will is that it be observed in good faith by our heirs forever. We have also granted to all free men of our kingdom for us and our heirs forever all the underwritten liberties to be had and held by them and their heirs and us and our heirs forever. So everything under here, part of the liberties to be had and held by us and our heirs forever. This is the great charter of liberty. Now, there's quite a different things here that are, dealing with rights, liberties that one wouldn't even think of as a right, but there it is. Let's see. I was looking to see if that one right there was talking about quarantine. There it is. A widow after the death of her husband shall forthwith and without difficulty have her marriage portion and inheritance, nor shall she give anything for her dower, or for her marriage portion, or for the inheritance which her husband and she held on the day of the death of that husband, and she may remain in the house and her husband for 40 days after his death, within which time her dower shall be assigned to her. This is quarantine. The origin of quarantine is 40 days of isolation, and this is actually where it came from. Okay. Neither we nor our bailiffs will seize any land or rent for any debt as long as the chattels of the debtor are sufficient to repay the debt. Nor shall the securities of the debtor be distrained so long as the principal debtor is able to satisfy the debt. And if the principal debtor shall fail to pay the debt, having nothing therewith to pay it, then the surety shall answer for the debt, and let them have the lands and rents of the debtor, if they desire them, until they are indemnified for the debt which they have paid for him. unless the principal debtor can show proof that he is discharged thereof as against the said sureties. Let's see, what's this? And the city of London shall have all its ancient liberties and free customs as well by land as by water. Furthermore, we decree and grant that all other cities, boroughs, towns, and ports shall have all their liberties and free customs. Let's see. Number 20 is a good one. A free man shall not be immersed for a slight offense, except in accordance with the degree of the offense. And for a grave offense, he shall be immersed in accordance with the gravity of the offense, yet saving always his contentment, and a merchant in the same way saving his merchandise. And a villain shall be immersed in the same way, saving his wainage, if they have fallen into our mercy. And none of the aforesaid immersements shall be imposed except by the oath of honest men of the neighborhood. Let's see. Let's see. Looking for maybe it's right there. Here we go. No bailiff for the future shall, upon his own unsupported complaint, put anyone to his law without credible witnesses brought for this purposes. And of course, number 39, no free man shall be taken or imprisoned or diseased or exiled and in any way destroyed, nor will we go upon him, nor send upon him, except by the lawful judgment of his peers or by the law of the land. Now, this has been changed because I remember reading this. It says to number 40, to no man will we sell. To no man will we refuse, and it's deny or delay right or justice. And I busted Avalon before. But those three right here basically are really the key ones. So this is where we get, that we will not, without justice is to be without sale, denial, or delay, or without prejudice. And basically, right here, no bailiff for the future shall, upon his own unsupported complaint, put anyone to his law without credible witnesses brought for this purpose. So where's the credible witnesses? So now this is clear back to 1215, and there's not a whole lot back here, but what I'd like to kind of point out here, the Disease of Clarendon of 1166 is where the right to a trial by a jury comes from. Now, if I remember right, there we go. Now, this is where I point out talking about a person. Okay. And this is the English Bill of Rights. This is a Bill of Rights. An act declaring the rights and liberties of the subject and settling the succession of the crown. And again, it's, rights, again, being laid down as the law here. Where's the Lord's spiritual, but I want to talk about this right here. Then called and known by the names and style of William and Mary, comma, Prince and Princess of Orange being present in their proper persons. In propria persona, in their proper person. William as the prince, Mary as the princess of Orange. Okay? That's their person, personificants. They're acting as prince and princess. This is the man. This is the woe man. This is the person. So, like for me, owner of Kirk's Law Corner LLC, in my proper person, I am the owner. Idaho Notary Public, in my proper person as a notary public. But my name is still Kirk. Kirk is the man. Owner and notary public is person. Just like acting as governor is a person. Well, don't show me papers, show me the law. Well, this is the law. Law is that which is laid down. Declarations. D meaning down, clarified. Law. Declarations declare the law. This piece of paper is laying down the law. I'm showing it to you right now. Again, rights as the law. So, pay attention. The law being laid down in 1689. Whereas the late King James II, by the assistance of divers evil counselors, judges and ministers employed by him, didn't endeavor to subvert and expatriate, the Protestant religion and the laws and liberties of this kingdom. Now, pay attention, because rights are the law. Rights. Whose law? If you read it and comprehend it, then you can claim it. It's only to those who know how to read and how to comprehend what they read and how to articulate and become the law sayer. And unless you read this crap, you're not going to know it. Because like the Bible says, the law, different part of the law, as my people shall perish for lack of knowledge. And this is why we joke around about reading means reading, which actually comes from what happened with John Gentry in Tennessee and filing that paperwork out there. And, oh, well, reading doesn't really mean reading because it's supposed to be read on the record. Yeah, you do have to read. Sorry. Because there's a lot more to it than what you think. There's more to law than what you think. It says what it says as it is written, because remember, it was spoken first, then written. So yeah, it does say what it says. And you know what? I'm just stupidity. I can't deal with it. No, not that one. This one. So pay attention because this is 1689. And because this is why reading means reading, so that we can comprehend what's going on today. By assuming and exercising a power of dispensing with and suspending of laws and the execution of laws without consent of Parliament. Imagine that. Huh. By committing and prosecuting divers worthy prelates for humbly petitioning to be excused from concurring to the said assumed power. Huh. By issuing and causing to be executed a commission under the Great Seal for erecting a court called the Court of Commissioners for ecclesiastical causes. By issuing and causing to be executed a commission under the Great Seal for erecting the court called the Court of Commissioners for ecclesiastical causes. Huh. I know some states have Court of Commissioners. How about by levying money for and to the use of the crown by pretense or prerogative for other time and other manner than the same was granted by Parliament? Huh. Now here's a good one. By raising and keeping a standing army within this kingdom in time of peace without consent of Parliament and quartering soldiers contrary to law. Here it is again in history talking about standing armies. An armed body of men. Huh. By causing several good subjects, being Protestants, to be disarmed at the same time when Papists were both armed and employed contrary to law. So there it is. Exactly. Them policy officers. So, whoops, wrong mouse. You know what kind of what we're talking about right now, even what's going on right now again? That certain people need to be disarmed while they're armed themselves. And of course, they want to send armed bodies of men to come disarm the people. Imagine that. How about by violating the freedom of election of members to serve in Parliament? By prosecutions of the Court of King's Bench for matters and causes cognizable only in Parliament, and by divers other arbitrary and illegal courses. In other words, violating due process of law. All right. How about this one? And whereas of late years, partial, corrupt, and unqualified persons have been returned and served on juries in trials, and particularly divers juries in trials for high treason, which were not freeholders. An excessive bail hath been required of persons committed in criminal cases to elude the benefit of the laws made for the liberty of the subjects. And excessive fines have been imposed, and illegal and cruel punishments inflicted, and several grants and promises made of fines and forfeitures before any conviction or judgment against the persons upon whom the same were to be levied. This is 1689, folks. They're laying out bills of attainder and bills of pains and penalties. Right there. Excessive bail, excessive fines, cruel punishments, and the several grants and promises made of fines and forfeitures before any conviction or judgment against the person upon which the same were to be levied. Huh. Wow. So, as we can see, this is kind of a repeat of history, isn't it? And whereas the said late King James II, having abdicated the government and the throne being thereby vacant. Well, wait a minute. What does that mean? It means they usurped the powers of government and the throne, and therefore it becomes vacant. His Highness, the Prince of Orange, whom it hath pleased Almighty God to make the glorious instrument of delivering his kingdom from popery and arbitrary power, did, by the advice of the Lord spiritual and temporal and divers principles persons of the commons, cause letters to be written to the Lord spiritual and temporal being Protestants, and other letters to the several counties, cities, universities, boroughs, sink ports, for the choosing of such persons to represent them as were of right to be sent to Parliament, to meet and sit at Westminster upon the 2 and 12th day of January, 2 and 20th, pardon me. So it'll be the 22nd day of January of this year, 1688, in order to such an establishment as that their religion, laws, and liberties might not again be in danger of being subverted. Upon which letters elections have been accordingly made. There it is. I mean, kind of have to read a little bit between the lines, but it's pretty self-evident here. This is the same crap we're going through today, right now. That the pretended power of suspending the laws or the execution of laws by regal authority without consent of Parliament is illegal. That just sums up everything above. That the pretending power of dispensing with laws or the execution of laws by regal authority, as it hath been assumed and exercised of late, is illegal. That the commission for erecting the late court of commissioners for ecclesiastical causes and all other commissions and courts of like nature are illegal and pernicious. But it's the same old crap happening again today. And by reading, again, reading means reading. Going back to 1689, they dealt with the same crap that we're dealing with today. Right now, over the last year. The same crap. History is, in fact, repeating itself. That's because we're fighting the evil, right? And they keep wanting this power and assuming this power over and over and over again. And people have to fight it off. That levying money for or to the use of the crown by pretense or prerogative without grant of Parliament for longer time or another manner than the same is or shall be granted is illegal. Okay, like right now, the governors of 49 states, all but one, said, "Oh, because we didn't need the money." Yeah, that's that right there. Getting that money under FEMA money, federal emergency money. Okay. And why didn't the governors call the legislature in? Because the Senate holds the purse. So we have to have the legislature is the one that's supposed to delegate and appropriate that money. Huh. How about that is the right of the subjects to petition the king, and all commitments and prosecutions for such petitioning are illegal. So the people were humbly petitioning for the redress of grievances clear back in 1689, clear back in 1215. It's a right retained by the people and has been around for a long time. And they were being prosecuted, false claims and all that good crap under bills of attainder, bills of pains and penalties, SMU, stuff made up. And again, that the raising or keeping a standing army within the kingdom in time of peace, unless it be with consent of Parliament, is against law. It's not just illegal, it's unlawful. The law says that's not supposed to happen. In 1689, because the legislature, in this case, that power was Federalist 45. How do you like that, Mark? Again, delegated the power to declare war. They have to declare war, and then per our Constitution, not longer than 2 years. So, again, 1689. That the subjects which are Protestants may have arms for their defense suitable to their conditions and as allowed by law. Well, the Second Amendment, we're not quite sure the history of that right. Well, here you go. Here's some history on the right to keep and bear arms from 1689, long before the Second Amendment, or Article the Second of the Bill of Rights. Notice that one then there, the right to bail, excessive fines, cruel and unusual punishment. That's the Eighth Amendment, is it? Article the Eighth, the Bill of Rights. Like I said, every single right that's enumerated in the Bill of Rights has already been here. Again, reading means reading. You got to read it to know it. You got to study history. Right? 350 years later. And we don't quite understand that the people have the right to keep and bear arms, and that right shall not be infringed. There is no subject matter jurisdiction. Period. None. Zero. There is absolutely no subject matter jurisdiction over the right to keep and bear arms, which shall not be infringed. It's a right retained by the people. Now, here again, the right to freedom of speech. Wait a minute. It has to do with what? That the freedom of speech and debates or proceedings in Parliament ought not to be impeached or questioned in any court or place out of Parliament. Because see there, that's really where the right to freedom of speech comes from, and where it's intended to be claimed and exercised is in the legislature. The right to petition the legislature for the redress of grievance, the right to remonstrate, and the right to address. That's them debates or proceedings. That excessive bail ought not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, no cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. 1689. Doesn't that sound almost exactly verbatim to the Eighth Amendment, Article the Eighth? Right there. Right, Jacqueline? Jacqueline says out here on YouTube, we need you in an app. So, I mean, this just blows my mind in, all the years that I've been studying this stuff and putting these pieces of the puzzle together. Right? Putting these pieces of the puzzle together because I've done a lot of reading. And I've committed a lot of this stuff to memory. I mean, just in the general consensus, some of it, word for word. I can recite this stuff word for word. To some extent, it's basically, God bless me with a brilliant mind. But the other part of it is my due diligence is I keep reading it and keep refreshing my mind, and I practice it. Right. People over here on YouTube are debating what to call the app. The SMU app. SMU. So here, and they do, and they do claim, demand, and insist upon all in singular the premises of their undoubted rights and liberties, and that no declarations, judgments, doings, or proceedings to the prejudice of the people in any of their said premises ought in any wise to be drawn hereinafter into consequence or example, to which demand of their rights they are particularly encouraged by the declaration of His Highness the Prince of Orange as being the only means for obtaining a full redress and remedy therein. Having therefore an entire confidence that His said Highness the Prince of Orange will perfect the deliverance so far advanced by him, and will still preserve them from the violation of their rights which they have here asserted, and from all other attempts upon their religion, rights, and liberties, the said Lord Spiritual and Temporal and Commons assembled at Westminster do resolve that William and Mary, Prince and Princess of Orange, be and be declared King and Queen of England, France, and Ireland, and the dominions thereunto belonging, to hold the crown and royal dignity of the said kingdoms and dominions to them, the said prince and princess during their lives and the life of the survivor to them, and that the sole and full exercise of the regal power be only in and executed by the said Prince of Orange in the names of the said prince and princess during their joint lives, and after their deceases, the said crown and royal dignity of the same kingdoms and dominions to be to their heirs of the body of the said princess, and for default of such issue to the Princess Anne of Denmark and the heirs of her body, and for default of such issue to the heirs of the body of the said Prince of Orange. And the Lord Spiritual and Temporal and Commons do pray the said Prince and Princess to accept the same accordingly. So there's quite the example of this fight for our rights. The Jack app. Oh, jeez. I'm not sure, Bobby. I don't know why you're having a problem with YouTube. So, all right, there we go. I mean, there's all sorts of other mumbo jumbo here, but it's a pretty key document here, right? It really lays out some of the very same things that we're being subjected to again today. That's already in our Constitution and already in the Bill of Rights. How many times do we have to put it in writing? Now, this one's a good one. The first charter of Virginia. Now, this is I've covered this one in the episode 1 in the educational series. Those of you who are not aware of that, both on Facebook and YouTube, there's 8 episodes in an educational series that is in a playlist called Educational Series. So go to the videos tab, either Facebook or YouTube. Go to the videos tab and then see where it says playlist. Click on that. There's the playlist. Now, this is going back in history, okay? So, what? This is the first charter in America. Yeah, I'm a little tired. I've been up, got up nice and early today, had a productive day, and yeah, this is the first document in America. Many people are not even aware of this. This is why it was called Jamestown, Virginia, because James, by the grace of God, King of England, Scotland, France, and Ireland, defender of the faith, whereas our loving and well disposed subjects, Sir Thorn as Gales and Sir George Somers, Knights Richard, blah, 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 Edward, Thomas, all these names. Oh, there's an Esquire. William Parker, George, and divers others of our loving subjects have been humble suitors unto us, that we would vouchsafe unto them our license to make habitation, so seeking permission, habitation, plantation, and to deduce a colony of sundry of our people into that part of America commonly called Virginia, because Jamestown, Virginia was actually established in 1603. Okay, but there's more to this right here. And other parts and territories in America, either appertaining unto us or which are not now actually possessed by any Christian prince or people, situate, lying, and being all along the sea coasts between 4 and 30 degrees of northerly latitude from the equinoctial line, and 5 and 40 degrees of the same latitude, and in the main land between the same 4 and 30 and 5 and 40 degrees, and the islands hereunto adjacent, or within 100 miles of the coast thereof. Yeah, going after the bar app, that would be a good one. And to that end, and for the more speedy accomplishment of their said intended plantation and habitation there, are desirous to divide themselves into two several colonies and companies, the one consisting of certain knights, gentlemen, merchants, and other adventurers of our city of London and elsewhere, which are, and from time to time shall be, joined unto them, which do desire to begin their plantation and habitation in some fit and convenient place between the latitude and longitude, coast of Virginia and the coast of America aforesaid, and consisting of We greatly commending and graciously accepting of the desires of the furtherance of the so noble a work, which may, by the providence of Almighty God, hereinafter tend to the glory of his divine majesty, in propagating of Christian religion to such people, not Catholicism, Christian religion, as yet live in darkness and miserable ignorance of the true knowledge and worship of God, and may in time bring the infidels and savages living in those parts to human civility and to a settled and quiet government, do By these our letters patents, graciously accept of and agree to their humble and well-intended desires. And again, and do therefore for us, our heirs and successors, grant and agree that the said Sir Thomas Gates, Sir George Somers, blah, 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 City of London, and all such others are all shall be joined into them, that the colony shall be called the first colony, and they shall and may begin their said first plantation and habitation at any place upon the said coast of Virginia or America, where they shall think fit and convenient, between the said degrees latitude and longitude, and that they shall have all the lands, woods, soil, grounds, havens, ports, rivers, mines, minerals, marshes, waters, fishings, commodities, hereditaments, whatsoever, from the said first seat of the plantation and habitation by the space of 50 miles of English statute measure, all along the said coast of Virginia and America, towards the west and southwest of the coast lieth, with all the islands within 100 miles directly over against the same sea coast. And also the land, soil, grounds, havens, ports, blah, 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 blah. So, as we can see, this is the good Christian people, again, trying to separate from the Roman Catholic Church over there. And they're granting, right? They're granting all of this stuff and to their heirs, right? And we do likewise for us, our heirs and successors, by these presents, grant and agree. And then see there, okay, provided always, and our will and pleasure herein is that the plantation and habitation of such of the said colonies as shall last plant themselves as aforesaid shall not be made within 100 like English miles of the other of them that first began to make their plantation as aforesaid. So they were supposed to keep 100 miles away from each other. Let's see. And moreover, we do grant and agree for us or heirs successors that it said colonists and councils, and the aforesaid colonies shall lawfully may by virtue hereof, from time to time, without any interruption of us, our heirs or successors, give and take order to dig, mine, and search for all manner of mines of gold, silver, and copper, as well within any part of their said several colonies, as of the said main lands on the backside of the same colonies, and to have and enjoy the gold, silver, and copper to be gotten thereof, to the use and behoof of the same colonies and the plantations thereof, yielding therefore to us and our heirs and successors the 5th part only of all the same gold and silver, and the 15th part of all the same copper. So that's basically saying today's time 1/5 of the gold and silver and 1/15 of the copper, so to be gotten or had, as is aforesaid, without any other manner or profit or account to be given or yielded to us, our heirs of success, for the respect of the same. So the free inhabitants in the plantations were able to go out there and dig in the ground and see what they could find. But when it came to gold and silver, they had to give 1/5 of it up to them and 1/15 of the copper. Taxation. Except for this was under grant. They've been granted right there. Capital, big, bold, capital letters there. And moreover, we do grant and agree. So they were basically, that was it. Here you go. Go be free and populate. Stay 100 miles away from each other and go dig in the dirt and see what you can find. And when it comes to gold and silver and copper, you give 1/5 and 1/15 of it. How hard is that? That's not too bad at all, is it? Really? And that they shall or lawfully may establish and cause to be made a coin to pass current there between the people as those several colonies for the more ease of traffic and bargaining between and amongst them and the natives there of such metal, and in such manner and form as the said several councils there shall limit and appoint. So there it is. To coin money and to fix the weights and measures. This is clear back in 1606, folks. Yeah, 100 miles versus 6 feet, right? You know, it just blows my mind, some of the stuff that I've come across and read. And you know, again, I've never really liked to read. I really haven't. As a kid, going through school, I hated to read. Again, this is the only kind of reading that intrigues me and can hold my attention and draw me in to read, aside from other like car magazines, um, manuals, of course, service manuals and that kind of stuff. But for the most part, I don't like to read anything, with the exception of law. So, history of law and that kind of good stuff. But it's what drives me. It's what the heck is going on here? I need to do some diagnostics, and before I can do diagnostics, I got to figure out how it's supposed to be before I can tell what the hell is wrong. Right? I mean, that's the key. We have to know how it's supposed to be and what kinds of things that are not Republican in character or conduct in order to know what's unlawful, what's foreign to our form of government. Yeah, right. It is a fascinating subject, no doubt. Like this one here. Also, we do for us, our heirs and things, declare, lay down the law here, by these presents that all and every the persons be in our subjects which shall dwell and inhabit within every or any of the said several colonies and plantations, and every of their children which shall happen to be born within any of the limits and precincts of the said several colonies and plantations shall have and enjoy all liberties, franchises, immunities within any of any other dominions to all intents and purposes, as if they had been abiding and born within this our realm of England or any other of our said dominions. Now, this one here, oops. Moreover, our gracious will and pleasure is, and we do by these presents for us and ours and successors, declare and set forth that if any person or persons which shall be of any of the said colonies and plantations or any other, which shall trick to the said colonies and plantation or any of them, shall at any time or times hereafter transport any wares, merchandise, or commodities out of any of the dominions with the pretense to land, sell, or otherwise dispose of the same within any of the limits and precincts of any other said colonies, any of the said colonies and plantations, and nevertheless, being at sea or after he hath landed the same within any of the said colonies and plantations, shall carry the same into any other foreign country with the purpose there to sell or dispose of the same without the license of us, our heirs and successors, in that behalf first had and obtained, that then all the goods and chattels of such person so offending and transporting together with the said ship or vessel wherein such transportation was made shall be forfeited to us, our heirs and successors. I'm still looking for that one where it's talking about arms. Yeah. Now, see the source. They're actually listing the source here on this one, and a very extended. The federal and state constitutions, colonial charters, and other organic laws of the states, territories, and colonies now or heretofore forming the United States of America. Wait a minute. Why would they say that? That this is hereto forming the United States of America? Compiled and edited under the Act of Congress, June 30th, 1906, by Francis Newton Thorpe, Washington, D.C., Government Printing Office, 1909. There's a full citation for that one. All right. So that's the 1606. Then there's the 1609. And I believe it's 1611. Yep. Or 1606, 1609, and 1611. Those are really three key documents to read because, again, you know, we look at this right here. It's right here. avalon.law.yale.edu. We've all been taught from the Mayflower. Well, when was the Mayflower? Wasn't that 1620? What about 1606, 1609, and 1611? I'm pretty sure that comes before 1620. So why didn't they teach this part of history? I don't, guess they just don't want us to know, right? So that's the key here, is knowing what to read, what to go look at, and comprehending the very beginning of its inception in America. Because reading means reading. And there's just so much out here to read. I mean, look at all this. This is the 17th century here. You want to get into the 18th century when things really start heating up and getting good. I mean, there's all sorts of reading here. Oh, yeah, I tell you. I think on that note, I'm actually gonna knock off for the night, just because I am getting tired. But make no mistake, I'm not giving up. Just calling a rest for the night. Yeah, right? So, I wonder if that would be, yeah. Again, I want to thank all those that support the channels here and that have given their support. But for those of you out there who would like to help support the channels, my digital side of things is down, obviously. I still haven't had a chance to really look into much of anything, but definitely can send things through the mail, through the snail mail over to the office, 6477 West Fairview Avenue, Suite C, Boise, Idaho 83704. And I mean, that's pretty much it for now. Of course, Patreon, that's really picking up over there. So Wednesday night workshop. And again, it's 4 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Mountain, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern time. I bumped it up a little bit for a few other people out there so they can actually make it. Now, for those of you in the tier 4 over there, really need to get with you guys this week and set something up. Now, my evenings are pretty much busy Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So I pretty much got Tuesdays and Thursday evenings and Saturday evening if I don't go camping or, those kinds of things. But so let's try and figure out something during the day if we can. But, wrong mouse. Okay. Oh, there we go. All right. So again, I want to thank everybody for being here, wanting to learn, because reading means reading. And right, I'm hoping so. I was thinking it was going to get publicized, but thanks, Diesel D's, appreciate it. So yeah, thank you all for being here. Much love, and this is America, and it's our republic. If we can keep it, if we can't get this knowledge, we ain't got no power. All right. What's up, Troy? What's up, brother? Supposed to be some camping this weekend, isn't there? Got to figure out where in the heck it's going to be this year. But anyways, much love, everybody, and Patreon Wednesday night. Much love. Good night, everybody.